Ken Holland making another move, his second trade of the deadline period. Tyler Yaremchuk and Zach Lang giving you some instant reaction to the fact that Nick Bjugstad is now an Edmonton Oiler. The full deal, Bjugstad to Edmonton at 50% retained, Zach, which is important because it means his cap hit is only going to be $450,000. The Oilers also get AHL defenseman Cam Dineen. Going the other way, a third-round pick in 2023 and AHL defenseman Michael Kesselring, who's an interesting prospect. Before we talk about that, what are the Oilers getting in Nick Bjugstad?
Well, in Nick Bjugstad, the Oilers are getting a big center who can play up the middle. He can play on the wing. He's got a good scoring rate this year, 1.52 points per hour at 5-on-5 play. That kind of puts him in the bottom half of the Oilers forwards group, but it's a good sign that he can kind of put the puck in the net, right? A real solid defensive center is what we're getting here for the Edmonton Oilers, and I think it's something that the team needed to address. They probably needed an extra body in that forward group. Going to bump a guy like Devin Shore down the lineup a little bit, and I think that's a real pro for the Edmonton Oilers here. Bjugstad, he can play up the middle. He can play on the wing. He can slide up if necessary, too. I was looking at some numbers. He played 33% of his time against elite competition this year in Arizona as a fourth liner, so he can play some heavy minutes if the Oilers need him to. God forbid they need him to, but he should be able to slot in as a bottom six player and be real effective for the Oilers.
13 goals in 59 games with the Coyotes. His size obviously stands out at 6'6", 209 pounds. He's having definitely a career resurgence this year. 13 goals, like I said, in 59 games. In the last two seasons combined, he only had 13 goals in just north of 100 games. So Bjugstad's bouncing back, and Ken Holland taking a chance on that. Going out the door, the third in Michael Kesselring. To me, that feels like a little bit too high of a price to pay because Kesselring was having a hell of a year down in Bakersfield. But I also see the side of if you want your GM to be in win now mode, you can't complain about stuff like this.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with you on that one. I think the third-round pick is great value for a guy like Bjugstad. I mean, that's pretty much going right for a bottom six player like him. I'm not a fan of moving on from Kesselring, though. I really am not. He's a right-shot defenseman. He's got some size. The Oilers have been developing this kid for a couple of years now, and he really had an offensive explosion to his game this year. For the most part of the season, he's been leading American Hockey League defenseman in goal scoring. I don't like the move from that sense. I don't think Cam Dineen's going to come in and be anything more than an American Hockey League player. Even if you look down at the American League level right now for the Oilers, they've got an imbalance of lefties and righties now, right? The only real right-handed prospect in the system is Phil Kemp, and the jury's still out on what he can become down the road here. So later on tonight or on Friday, Bruce Kurlock, our prospects writer, is going to kind of break down this trade from an American League level and look what the Oilers are giving up and what they'll be getting in Cam Dineen.
If this is it for Ken Holland, and Frank Saravalli is reporting that barring any surprise, this will be it for Holland, getting Bjugstad and Ekholm. Give me your letter grade for Holland's work.
I mean, it's going to be an A for me. I really think that Ken Holland has done some fine work here. Mattias Ekholm has clearly already been a great fit on this team. You look at the way that he played against the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, Tyler. He was great. He was everything the Oilers have needed, right? A good breakout pass. He's strong in the defensive zone. He can defend the blue line. His feet look fine. Yep. I know there's been a little bit of concern about that with him, kind of getting up there in age a little bit. But man, like Ekholm just seems to be a tremendous fit on this back end. And I think Bjugstad is just a perfect sort of complementary player for this Oilers bottom six right now. Really hard to argue with what Ken Holland's done here.
I'm going to give him a B+ just because there were sacrifices off this roster, right? Like Bjugstad makes them better, and Puljujarvi was having a rough year, maybe wasn't exactly fitting in with the Oilers, so that's fine. But you also lost Tyson Barrie in this process, and before, I would argue, the Oilers had 7 NHL quality defensemen with Desharnais, Broberg, Kulak, Ceci, Nurse, and now Ekholm. I would argue that, they still are only at 7 NHL D-men. You sacrifice Puljujarvi from the forward group and add Nick Bjugstad. You upgraded in each of those instances, but you didn't bring in a layer of depth. I think I honestly would have liked one more move from Holland, whether on the blue line or up front, either one.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We're recording this here on Thursday afternoon. Yeah. We don't know the status of Kyler Yamamoto, right? I wonder if he's a guy that could be an LTIR candidate, through the remainder of the regular season. That frees up $3.1 million in cap space if the Oilers want to play around with their roster a little bit more here. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, I think that you can go out there and you can add another forward, maybe another defenseman. Again, the Oilers are in all-in mode right now, right? So as far as I'm concerned, if we're giving away assets like a Michael Kesselring, not that that's a huge asset to give away or anything. A guy like Reed Schaefer as well, another prospect moved out the door. The Oilers are clearly in win now mode. They want to do it this year. And I think if you have an opportunity to add some more in the next, 20 hours, I think you try and do that.
We will see. Maybe Ken Holland will surprise us. For now, it's 2 moves by Uncle Ken. The deadline comes Friday at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. Don't forget to tune in to the Daily Faceoff Live Trade Deadline Edition show. It's coming up live 10 a.m. Mountain tomorrow, so you won't want to miss out on that. Our guy Frank Serval is going to be breaking every trade, and make sure you hit the subscribe button here at the Nation Network so you don't miss anything. Yeah!